and he will show us around about the whole process of going through the border. Good morning. I'm the director for the border control in the Beijing Daxing International Airport. And we have a modern and human-oriented airport. And for the border control, we have implemented this philosophy. And we can see these are the area for migration, for coming out of the border. We have the gate for the national citizens and foreign people, and this is based on the international standards. And we have the self-help service, and we have upgraded in the facilities. And later on, we can have a taste. And for the first flight, when did it start? And what about the current situation? And the first flight of international airlines is very early, and the boarding gate is open at 4:50, and the staff come around 3 o'clock. And the first flight is from Air China, from China to Bangkok, Thailand, and around 150 passengers have exited smoothly. Have you gathered the time for the passengers to depart? And we don't have so many international airlines now. And within 25 minutes, both Chinese and foreign passengers have exited. And the time for each passenger is around 45 seconds. And for self-help channel, it only took about 15 seconds. And up until now, for international flights in Daxing Airport, what airlines do they belong to? How many airlines? And today, we have the first international flight. For departure flights, we have 7 of them. Arrival, 5. And the first flight, Air China. And the second, Southern China. And on 25 of 10 o'clock, we have an arrival flight. Around 9:15, the flight arrived, 1 hour and 10 minutes in advance. And for the arrival passengers, about 283 passengers, they have smoothly passed through the migration and they enter into Chinese territory smoothly. So this is the first arrival flight from London, about 283 passengers on arrival. And now we have the first flights, both departure and arrival. We have smoothly finished the clearance process. Apart from normal gates, we have the gates specifically for the Belt and Road countries. And for this year, we have the Belt and Road Forum in Beijing as an important achievement. The Migration Bureau has required the border control officers to deploy the Belt and Road gates. And we welcome the officials, journalists from Belt and Road countries to participate in Belt and Road related events. So we can also have a feeling for how much time it will take to go through the Belt and Road channel. And for foreign citizens, they will need to hold the ID and the departure card, and we also need to review the visa. So this is a female passenger from foreign country. So we don't have so many people, so there's no need to queue up. And the national migration is promising that for Chinese citizens, the clearance time will be kept within 30 minutes. But you can see for this passenger, you can take a shot. So this is for the high technology, which shortened the time of clearance. We can see the clearance time is less than 1 minute. For business travelers, they come in and out of China frequently, so we can draw upon the previous records, and this shortened the time of clearance. And for foreign passenger, the clearance time will be around 1 minute. For the passport of certain country, the passport is not electronic, so it may take longer time, but the average clearance time is about 1 minute. And we have the self-help printing machine here. And this will facilitate the passengers to have a kind of note or certificate about the clearance. So we are also required that there will be a self-help printing machine for the migration records. And in June this year, we also announced a good news. You can use an app, and this app can be used to download the migration or border control records. And for self-help clearance passengers, they don't have any records on the paper passport, so they may use this kind of printing machine or the app. So this is very easy to operate. If you want to have the entry-exit records, you can put your passport here, you can touch on the screen, and you can have a record. So this kind of record will serve for future needs. And for these machines, all these machines are installed in every port of entry and exit. So this is a requirement by the Migration Bureau for all the ports of entry and exit. So just now we have seen a foreign passenger. Now we want to have a test for a Chinese passenger for clearance. So we have this Chinese passenger here. So we can wait here and see how much time it takes. So it is facial recognition. Have you considered how much time it takes to go through the whole process? Several seconds? Less than 1 minute. It is rather rapid. Is it the first time for you to go through the Daxing Airport? How do you feel? I think it is much faster. It is very convenient. Have you gone through the Hong Kong or Macau gates? No? Thank you for your time. So we can just count how many seconds it takes to go through this process. From putting on the passport to the scanning machine to facial recognition, it is less than 15 minutes. 15 seconds. So we now rely on technology to increase and improve the efficiency. So we have different paths for the passengers and for the staff. So the staff can also use self-help clearance. And for every port, the airline staff can use the self-help system, and the information will be shared. And this reduces the time for clearance, and this is also supported by domestic and international airlines. And would you elaborate more on this technology? You can see that for the gate, once the gate is opened, the facial recognition will be started. For the previous generation of machine, the facial recognition needs to be caught with a specific angle, about 45 degrees. And now the facial recognition is automatically started. And previously, we use manpower. We have people to check the face, and now we have the machine. We can avoid any outlook or mistake, even or especially at the late night. And it is also possible for 2 people to enter at one time. So we have a monitor, and the monitor is to warn that 2 people are in the gate for the same time, so only 1 person at one time. And if a passenger carries a child, we have this kind of human-oriented approach. So for different gates, we have an officer, and this officer will help the passenger with a child. And we have a special channel, special gate for passengers with children. And for these special gates, they will serve the people with special needs, such as the seniors, the pregnant, and the people with their children. And where are the special gates? So we can go through here. So here you can see in the departure part, exit part, we have 20 gates to satisfy the demand of departure. And you asked me about the special line. So we have this kind of demonstration here for the special line. So for the Beijing Capital International Airport and Beijing Daxing International Airport, we have international flights at the same time. So for Air China, for Southern China, they will operate both at Beijing Capital and Beijing Daxing. And due to this kind of situation, maybe the passengers may mistake one airport for the other. So the passenger may be in a hurry. So we have a special line for the passengers who have mistaken different airports. So we can ensure the passengers can get on the plane in time. So this is the most noticeable place, so that we can find that the passengers in a hurry, they can find the special line in one instance. So what about the priority in distributing international airlines between the two airports? For on this Monday, I participated in the first operation conference of the Daxing Airport, and for airline companies, they have done a lot of work. And the airport have contacted the airlines through telephone, and from this morning, from 5:10, we have started the exit procedure for the first passenger. And until now, 3 hours have passed, so we do not have any passengers who have mistaken the airports. If for the passengers, if he has mistaken different airport, maybe it is still very late, even through the special line. So we can make a certain arrangement. And if you get in half an hour in advance before the departure time, it will be sufficient. So we try to make every arrangement. So this is also a highlight for Daxing Airport. Through the security check, we are at the center, and the distance from the center to the terminal is at most 600 meters, around 600 meters. And the boarding distance is similar for domestic and international airlines. So this is very time-saving. And currently, for the exit and departure, we can see we have the exit passengers coming on now. And this is a very early stage of international flights. Maybe in the future we may have more passengers. For the holiday time, what are the plans or emergency plans to cope with surging passengers? I have been working with the Beijing Capital International Airport for more than 30 years. I have experience in coping with the Spring Festival, with the Christmas holiday, with the New Year Day. We have the emergency plan. And for arrival influx, we will have more staff to support the arrival part. And for departure, height of population of passengers, we will support the departure. And for the Daxing Airport, we have also upgraded for the security check. You need to go through the security check, and the passenger are proven to be safe, so we can have a effective clearance. And we can have different allocation of the manpower of the staff to support departure and arrival for different time in the day. So this actually adds to the efficiency and effectiveness of clearance. So this is also a pilot in Daxing Airport. So we first have security check and then we have the border clearance. So we feel that this kind of pilot is effective. And this kind of first security check and then border control is conducive to the security of the people, and it also adds to the efficiency, and we can also feel that the whole process is smoother even for the officials here. And for the clearance and migration, what are the different responsibilities for different staff? According to the migration law, the border clearance officials have different responsibilities. And we have a very specific allocation of responsibilities. For the customs, they will check for the goods and baggages, and we check the people. And we have a relaxed policy for the mainland citizens. And we try to offer convenient services for various passengers through the clearance. And we have 12 million people who have chosen self-help clearance. About 46% of the passengers will choose the self-help gate, and through this kind of self-help arrangement, we can contribute to this kind of better experience of clearance on the part of the passengers. And this is also in line with this kind of goal that we can add to the experience. We can improve the happiness of the passengers once they go through the clearance. And what we will do if we encounter the passengers with sudden disease or illness, we have certain emergency plan for emergency rescue. We have a special line. Once we get the order, once we get the notice, the control unit will require the policeman on the front to gather the information of the passenger, and the passenger don't need to come to the control unit, and the data will enter into our system. So this saves the time for the passenger and saves the effort of the passenger. If we have the passenger who have sudden disease on the airplane, we have the measures to help the passengers. For flights from foreign country, we have a CETA network. So we can get the information from the plane, no matter where the plane is. And then we can make preparations in advance. And once we get the notice, we can send our officials on the spot. So we will facilitate the passengers to go through the clearance, and the time will be as short as possible, and this tries to save the lives and try to save the time. So this is a very human-centered approach to help the passengers in need. And for Daxing Airport, it has also another highlight. So for other airport, the thing is, for international transfer, it may be troublesome. And for Daxing Airport, we have different arrangements to reduce the burden on this part. And today for Daxing Airport, during the construction, we have considered this situation, and in the second floor, we have the special line for the transfer passengers. And later we can go to that part to see what we have done for the transfer passengers. And previously, the passengers need to go through the clearance once and again to transfer to transit. Now we have this kind of streamlined arrangement, so this will save the effort of the passengers. So we can help the passengers from Shanghai to Beijing to Los Angeles, so they will have to go through different kind of transfer counter, and we have an independent transfer counter, and this will facilitate the passenger. And the passenger will go through their process in Shanghai, and in Beijing, they don't need to go through this procedure once again. And before we come here, we have certain online comments. People are curious about the parking issue in such a large airport. Is it possible or is it convenient? And we can see here and for the migration, we have similar arrangement, so we can gather the information on the spot.
这里还专门设了一个大兴机场的口岸签证处哈。
对，这个大兴国际机场的口岸签证处是这个北京市公安局下设在口岸布设的这个签证处，也让这个外国的旅客，因为这个婚丧病娶，或者有老人生病这种紧急类的签证他有邀请函件，就可以办理这个落地签证。
For marriage or for the funeral, so we can facilitate this whole process. So we have the 144-hour visa exemption for transit. So this is also to facilitate the passengers towards the Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei province area. So this is to attract foreign tourists. And for the Beijing Capital Airport and Beijing Daxing Airport, we have the arrangements for the 24-hour visa exemption. And so this is to facilitate foreign tourists, and this is commanded by foreign passengers. So for the 24-hour and 144-hour visa exemption, what are the difference? So for 24-hour, within 24 hours, a passenger need to transfer from Beijing capital to Beijing Daxing or from Beijing to Tianjin. So, okay, all these things can be arranged within 24 hours. And the onward plane need to be settled in advance. For 144-hour visa exemption, the coverage will be Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei province. And the tourists can go to these three provincial localities. And now the passengers can visit for these Beijing, Tianjin, and Hebei, and they can enter from one port and leave from another port. And for the 44-hour visa exemption, we can say 53 participating countries have the right to enjoy this convenience, this arrangement. So this is based on the agreement between the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and other countries. And we have other. If we have the transfer passengers mixed in the border control check, it is rather confusing for this kind of separation. We separate the transfer passengers and the passengers domestically. So on the second floor, we have a specific section for the transfer passengers. So all the transfer passengers can go directly to the second floor, and these transfer passengers will be separated from the passengers just go out and in of this country. So for other airports, normally the passengers, whether transfer or not, they will gather at the same line for the check. But now for Daxing Airport, we separate the international transfer passengers. And this is very convenient for such a new arrangement. And up until now, for Daxing Airport, you have introduced the facilities and the arrangements to help the passengers. And what is the next step? And what about the next step of the international flights? What about the goal? And what about the expected passengers' volume, passengers' visits? So we can let the audience know about the latest information. So we have 7 domestic airlines and 8 international airlines operate, and by 27th February next year, we will have 108 international air flights, and for next October 27th, we will have about 200 international flights. And for the Beijing Migration Official and Bureau, we have made ample preparation. And for about 200 international flights, what about the comparison with the Beijing Capital Airport? About 200 international flights, it is less than Terminal 3. It is more than the international flights for Terminal 2. For Beijing Capital, the international flights will be about 450. So now we have finished the introduction for the border clearance in Daxing Airport, and we have seen the comments of the netizens, and people are curious about the parking issue. I have also driven here, and we have fewer passengers, but the notice is very clear. and we can see the sign for the parking building, and around the parking building, the signs are very clear. For whichever terminal want to go, the signs will be very clear, and we have the staff to offer guidance. So for the parking building, the parking lot are sufficient. And now the current situation for Daxing Airport is like what we have seen.